Hi, my name is Lisette Villa. I came here for the conference with IBREA Foundation, and it has been a very good experience because I learned many stuff from them. They have a bunch of experience about brain and peace. Most likely, I understand how peace works. Not only works outside, it works inside, because if we try to find peace outside, it's not possible. First of all, we have to work in ourselves, start to make progress little by little, practice techniques every day, because it's not something, it's a decision, and you have to choose be in peace. So it's most likely it's important. I'm from Colombia. It's very important for me to learn from people that have a bunch of experience, like Dr. Lee, especially with brain aging, because I found out that many people doesn't take care of themselves. So we have to take healthy choices every day. Most likely find good people around us, find light, find God, find many stuff that way we can grow up. As a professional, as a psychologist, I understand that mind is together with the spirit and soul. So I found that if we worked day by day, little by little, being patient and being peace, we can learn that it's important. First ourselves, second other people, and then that way we can be peace and we can do a better world. So thank you for this time, and I really want to share that you can remember that you are light, you know darkness. So that's very important for me today.
오늘 유엔에 와서 많은 것을 배우고 발표도 하고 정말 즐거웠습니다. 저도 나중에 유엔에서 일하고 싶어요. 감사합니다. 땡.
So good morning everybody, and welcome to the IBREA conference on peace and the brain. And I said a big thank you to the Permanent Mission of El Salvador who've sponsored the event today. So thank you for that. And we'll do a round of applause again for El Salvador. I'm a board member on IBREA, and most recently they have completed some work in El Salvador, so we'll talk more. You'll hear more about that today. I personally appreciate the thoughtfulness of IBREA in their in-country work, and you'll hear some of the stories on that later today. My day job, I also work at Nike. I'm a vice president there. I've been at Nike for about 20 years, but I'm just personally very passionate about really creating some peaceful solutions across the world, and I think everybody has a responsibility to do that. So today we're really hopeful that you'll get some inspiring ideas about how to do that for yourself and in your world. I personally come from Scotland as well, as I said, and the reason I'm so passionate about this too is Scotland was one of the crime capitals, certainly in Europe, and you know, you're surrounded as a child by violence. It was normal to see people with not so much guns but with knives and stuff, so, and alcoholism and substance abuse. So what you don't realise when you're in that environment a lot is that it's really normal for a child to be around that, so you don't realise there's kind of anything else. So very passionate that you know, peace in the brain is what we have to really teach children, that that's not normal, and the natural human state is actually not abusive and violent, but it's very peaceful, I believe, anyway. So that's Scotland for you. It's a lot better today. If you go there, it's we've done a lot of great work. I also want to welcome all the youth that are here today. And you can give yourself a round of applause. Yeah. Not easy to come for a day to conferences, so really appreciate young people coming here and listening to all the different messages today. Most importantly, we have some incredible speakers today, and I want to start with our very first speaker, Dr. Joseph Ledoux, PhD. And let me just get this. So, Dr. Joseph from Henry and Lucy Moses, Professor of Science at New York University in the Center of Neuroscience. He directs the Emotional Brain Institute of NYU and the Nathan Klein Institute. He's also a professor of psychiatry and child and adolescent psychiatry at the NYU Langone Medical School. So I'd like to invite Dr. Joseph to share some insights from his perspective on brain and peace.
Well, thank you very much.
It's easy to think that you can't do anything that's going to be important enough to create impact and solicit a big change from the world, but that's not true. Change starts with you. It's cliche, but it's true. The IBREA Foundation teaches us all about the brain and how by simply being in control of your emotions, you can create a positive impact on those around you. We like to blame our feelings for our actions. We victimize ourselves so that we don't have to take any responsibility for what we do wrong. Even the most honest person has at one time blamed their feelings for acting out irrationally. It's important that we teach our brain new and healthier habits when we are upset. Not only is it good for us, but it minimizes the damage that you can cause on civil society. The first step to world peace is acknowledging that there is a problem. We've done a great job of that, but we often forget the next and most important step, working towards a solution, a long-lasting solution. We shouldn't strive for peace if it will last for 6 months. We need to strive for everlasting peace. Our brain needs 21 days to make a new healthy habit, but you need to be patient and understanding. This is the way in which we need to treat the entirety of the world, with patience and understanding. In doing so, we are going to be able to create a peace that lasts. Learn about your body, treat it kindly, but as well expand your knowledge about peace in order to create an everlasting change. I was taught that if you give to others, it shouldn't be because it pleases you, but rather because it pleases the world. By doing so, it'll start a chain of positivity that'll repeat, and that's something we have to teach this younger generation. The older generation takes pride in demeaning the younger generation, speaking on how our knowledge doesn't stretch further than our phone screens, but it does. The responsibility to fix the earth is up to us. It's hard to do that when we are made to feel like the problems that we are fighting against aren't real and that they are made up by scientists who want to take our money. We can make a change and bring peace towards ourselves and the world, all by using the brain and unleashing its true potential. Treat people with kindness so that we may create a better world together.
We'll go to Zoha now.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to thank the IBREA Foundation. Firstly, I would like to thank Isabel and the IBREA Foundation for giving me this opportunity. I never imagined I would be back at the UN, where I recently interned to give a speech. It feels wonderful to be back here and see some familiar faces. My journey with the brain started 19 years ago in the year 2000. I was 17 years old at the time, having just completed 11th grade, and was set to conquer one of the most important school years of my teenage life, the 12th grade, specifically the 12th grade board exams. Anyone from India, where I'm from, knows how important this year is in a child's life. I was stressed, tense, but excited to be back in college after the summer break. However, that excitement was short-lived. Given my excessive weight loss and other symptoms that signaled something was not right, my family and I made a visit to the hospital. Little did any of us know that the hospital would become my new home for weeks on end, after which I would need 6 months to recuperate. It was only after the fluid from my spine was removed, placed in an icebox, crossed the sea, and tested in a hospital in London, thanks to my uncle, did we figure out what was wrong. I was infected with the West Nile virus caused by a mosquito infected with it. However, In my case, it was the severe neuroinvasive West Nile virus disease called encephalitis, which results when the virus invades the brain, causing damage and an inflammation. According to the US Center for Disease Control, those who get affected with this virus have mild symptoms that don't go reported. However, less than 1% develop the severe neuroinvasive disease that leads to the inflammation of the brain. That is, 1 in 150 people who are infected develop a severe illness affecting the central nervous system, and of which 10% who get it die. Some of the symptoms include disorientation, hallucination, paralysis in some cases, coma, tremor, convulsions, and the most prevalent residual effects are memory loss, irritability, confusion, depression, with patients experiencing difficulty walking, muscle weakness, joint pain, fatigue, and the list goes on. At that time, I did not understand all of this. It was too overwhelming for my brain and my mind. Luckily, we were introduced to a slew of wonderful doctors who stood by my side during my recovery. I remember the daily walks, and my mom's watching, and she used to come with me, wondering why my hands didn't move the way they used to. I used to walk like a robot, having lost my hand and leg coordination. However, the toughest part for me was relearning how to write. I remember the moment my mother set a blank book in front of me. This was the first time I tried writing with my left hand and then with my right. It took me weeks of practice to gain my fluency back. So I'm writing with my right hand again. Thank you. In all of this, all I could think of was, how would I give my board exam? I did end up giving my final, moving to America for my undergrad, living and working in New York as a 20-year-old thereafter, living abroad for a year, traveling to different parts of the world, running 2 half marathons, spending 3 years doing a rigorous MBA program, traveling to villages in India and visiting slum communities for my work, and most recently finishing up a master's in sustainability at Columbia University. Phew, that's 19 years of my life in one sentence. I just want to take a moment to say Allah ka shukr. I thank him because I could never have done it without him. So thank you. The last 19 years have been tumultuous. However, when I look back, I realize what happened to me 19 years ago did not define my life. It enhanced my journey and made me empathetic, and it later pushed me to ask broader questions about the purpose of my life that led to my transition into a field of work that I am passionate about. But I never sat down to think of the gravity of what I went through, nor did I openly share about it. But today I sit in front of you to share my story so you are aware that a deadly virus that between 1996 and 2016 impacted 49,937 people and killed 1,911 people in this country alone still exists today with no treatment for the cause or a vaccination to protect against it except for a mosquito repellent. I just want us to take that in. For me, it took me many years to make peace with it and accept it as part of my journey. Now I endeavor to find a way to live in harmony regardless of whatever is happening in my life. I came up with a theory that I simply call the flower theory, through which I metaphorically look at myself and other human beings as a flower, and I ask myself, how can we thrive regardless of the weather that we have to endure, that is sun, rain, or thunderstorm? I drew a picture and put all the things that I need to make myself strong and stand tall through the ups and downs in life. I believe everyone will find their way. But for me, it has been meditation and journaling that has been key to bringing me peace. Nourishing my body with good food and my mind with good content, I agree with you, both online and offline, through books, conversations, articles, or videos, I believe are critical to ensure my soul does not run amok again. However, one of the key lessons I've learned is not to ask the question why, but to seek how I can grow from the incident, what I can learn from it, and how I can find a way to coexist in harmony internally with what is happening. With that, I would like my family who has signed for, sorry, this is very overwhelming. I would like to thank my family and my parents, whose unwavering support and faith has brought me here today, and my brother, Awais, who has stood by my side through it all. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope all of you find your way, find your journey to find that inner harmony and peace within you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Zoha. Very powerful, and congratulations that you've overcome so much. Our next speaker is So Young. Take it away, So Young.
Yes. Hi, I am An So-young from Korea, the country of global idol group BTS. I'm a college student who loves BTS too much. In September 2018, BTS leader RM sent a message to the United Nations saying, "You must love yourself first so you can love others." As I listened to this speech, my last days came to my mind, and my mind was troubled. I'm now in love with myself, sharing positive emotions with people around me and living happily. But until recently, I was not a person who loved me, but a depressed child. Would you listen to my middle and high school days? I had a hard time in my junior high school because of depression and anxiety, and even went to the hospital for treatment. It was difficult for my peers to do things other than big things, and it was hard for me to get along with them, so I did not want to go to school. Even if I go to school, I have retreated as far as possible and have been living in hiding. Over time, these symptoms became worse. I could not through any of the treatment and school life properly. I chose to take my health first, so I took a break from junior high school and concentrated on hospital treatment. I was hospitalized until I went to high school. During that period, I was getting better and worse. I repeated myself and tired myself, but it was hard for my family to watch. After 3 years, I started to go to high school and started schooling. However, the stress caused by the stress in school caused me to feel anxiety again. We changed method and went to the consultation center. The situation was no different from the hospital. The situation has been repeated, and the fear of depression cannot be improved for a lifetime. So I consulted with my mom who was determined to be in a position where the underlying problem could not be solved. Looked for many other areas and found the brain training center I currently attended and started training. BT has helped me to learn how to improve and heal my uncomfortable symptoms by moving and using my body myself. And I have been training to control brain and mind through breathing and meditation to control my brain and mind condition I gave. The greatest change that has been made in this period of training is that the frequency and time of feeling anxiety have decreased significantly. I'm always worried about what I am doing. I'm always anxious about doing things. I feel a lot of feelings of anxiety in the whole life I have had. I'm also less exposed to anxiety, and I'm less stressed about school life itself. And I was able to see myself more positively thinking, acting, and actively changing than ever before. Also, as I concentrated on my studies and worked hard, I became the college student that I want now. A real miracle happened through training here. I was able to meet not only the restoration of the difficult health, but also the real beauty within myself. What has changed? What is the difference between me and me at that time? First, my body has changed. As a result of special gymnastics, my body became well prepared and my mind changed. Also, as a result of a change of mind, I was filled with enthusiasm, a bright facial expression, and inner strength and a positive change of mind. With this change, I became healthy, and all these things changed my brain. Growth of the brain restores the value of the brain, and this experience is perfectly matched to the UN theme, The Brain and Peace in 2019. The value of the recovered brain has changed my life, and a healthy brain is necessary for the peace of all of the people of this earth, regardless of nationality. I would like to say that restoration of the brain's value is very important for peace of our humanity. The more the earth's people with this brain are on this planet, the brighter the earth's future will be, and all of our life on this planet will be peaceful. Thank you for listening. Take back your brain.
Thank you, So Young. Straight from the heart. Thank you so much. And next we have Quintera. Yeah, with a Scottish accent again. Yes.
Okay. In his second inaugural address on January 21st, 1957, late President Dwight Eisenhower pontificates peace to be the climate of freedom. He further asserts that peace may be the only climate possible for human life itself. His words hold a depth of truth that emphasizes upon the importance of attaining said peace. It must be understood that peace is not an entity, but rather a state of mind that is only achieved when one comes to terms with not only the world, but themselves. It is quite easy to locate the epicenter of chaos within the world. Yet when it comes to humans as individuals, it becomes a game of apprehension and difficulty. Human intuition serves as a catalyst for hope, happiness, joy, and determination. Yet it is upon the basis of human greed that one forgets peace is only attained by understanding and not bullets kissing the tips of guns. In this world we inhabit, where murder and violence drape skies and leave tints of frustration, it is quite easy to get wrapped up within our own selfish needs. Everything around us is a reminder of an unrecognized deficiency. It is undiagnosed and therefore unimportant to the human mind or experience. Some have spent centuries with the intent of discovering the definition of humanity, the impact of struggle, and the regulations of empathy. Perhaps in a radical way, humanity can be defined as thriving off of another struggle and a hasty attempt to normalize ours. However, the human experience is not one that can be defined in a flurry of words because it is intricate, varying, and so very unique. The life of a child soldier in the depths of a war-ridden country contrasts the life of a child in a country laced in wealth, freedom, and doses of privilege. In understanding the sole purpose of our existence, peace becomes attainable, because it is understood that greed does not propel serenity, but rather disorder. It is also understood that the internal struggles can only be resolved if we come to accept and acknowledge their existence. Thank you.
Thank you, Quintera. And our final speaker, before we open up for discussion, is Minji.
Hello everybody, I'm Minjali and I'm from Korea. I'm going to start my speech with the title, Peace. Do you know what does meaning of the peace? The world we live in has continued to grow, resulting in tremendous economic growth and remarkable process. However, we have been indifferent to the problem of the peace. In order to keep a planet that coexists not only with humans, but with other creatures, keeping world peace is necessary. Actually, yesterday I visited Korean, United States, and German permanent missions, and they are all following sustainable development goals to keep the world peace and promote sustainable growth. We still have to solve the poverty of many underdeveloped countries, and we have to help them grow. We also need to develop new technologies and help mankind. However, it's necessary to focus on keeping world peace. Born with big power in Earth's history, it is the only species that controls the planet is mankind. The biggest weapon that humans have is the brain. Now we have to use our brain. We have to use our powerful weapon, the brain, for the world peace. Actually, the word peace, I make the word peace for five meanings. So, can you everybody say the initials of the peace? Let's start with the P. I made meanings of the P is perception. Perception of what is the problem. Secondly, it means yeah, thank you. The effort. It is effort to know what the problem is, what is available to solve it. The third one is, thank you very much. The third one is approach. We must approach the easiest thing that we can do. The fourth word is consider. To coexist with other people and creatures, we must consider every available options for the world peace. Finally, the word is thank you. Expand. It means expanding our stories to audience. To sum up, the P means perception, the word E means effort, the A means approach, and C means consider, and letter E means expand. So we are systematically looked at ways to keep the world peace. Now let's try to come up with a solution for the keeping world peace according to the word peace. As you all know, the first one is letter P, and it means perception. I adapted this one to the North Korean situation. So, North Korea launched missiles toward East Sea, and the problem is the missile, and the North Koreans don't want to negotiate with us. This is perception about what has happened. Second one is effort. Find out what are our available options from negotiations to campaigns. We have many options we choose, but since we are normal citizens, we can do limited works. Can we do? Third one is approach, and we have to approach with the easiest thing we can do. For example, campaign negotiations are available, but in our lives, it might be impossible to deal with North Korea directly. So I think the easiest way to influence audience is using social media. And I think social media and campaign is useful ways to influence people. So these are my solutions for this. Next one, considering coexistence. As you all know, we have so many cultures and personalities on here, so we need to consider other people, not to harm or not to upset other people. The last one is expand. The people may know about problems about North Korea, and finally, we might affect politicians even. And content, including hashtags or posts, are increasing. Finally, Albert Einstein said, "Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding." Do you understand to deal with circumstances for peace? Thank you. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Thank you, Minji. So thank you to Carla, Zoha, Soyoung, Kintera, and Minji. We're going to have, I think we've got 50.
We work with the students and the children, and then they improve and they grow, and then they go back home, and then the situation in their home is very difficult, and then it's hard to sustain their condition. So even at that level of the family system, it's already difficult. So imagine, right, the community, the country. So how to impact both at the same time, it's definitely something we have to think about. And the way we've tried to do it in IBREA is, so if we have an agreement with the government, even though they're not hands-on in the work, but you know, like kind of set the tone and set the framework, okay, we're partners in this, we're doing this together. Even if it's a document and, you know, many of the government officers are not actually experiencing these changes, but at least there is a framework, and then we work on the ground with the people, and there is a political agreement to do that. So that's one start, we feel like. But definitely it has to be like a majority of people actually make those changes, then the system can change. It's not enough just a few people. So
thank you to all of you for showing up today and really embracing the conversation. Deeply appreciate it.
Thank you to our moderator.
Our moderator. Oh, actually. Okay, and hope to see you all again next year. Yes, next year, same time, maybe a different room. Yeah. Safe travels, everyone.